Only one player out of 100 plays this opening, yet it's so powerful that your win rate is gonna skyrocket. You start with the move d4, then you play knight to f3. You don't care that much what they're doing, as long as it's not too weird. Okay, they play d6 and knight c6. I think we can play d5 immediately here. But that wouldn't be consistent with the normal plan that I want to show you. But yeah, otherwise they're gonna play e5, but we always take. Okay, so if they ever play d6 or g6, you place your bishop on g2. It's going to be really cool along this long diagonal. And then you place the second bishop on the b2 square, where it's also going to be very strong along the diagonal. And then you attack in the center. That is the plan in the nutshell, but let me show you step by step how exactly you execute it. Bishop g4, I'm never afraid of. Like, if you want to take, be my guest. Otherwise, I might even play h3 and kick you out of it. Okay, he takes voluntarily. I like to take with the pawn in a lot of cases, because this pawn is gonna get to f4. We are gonna get the e file to be opened, and this pawn is going to be a weakness, whereas our bishop is going to be opened again, very active there. So let me do that. All right. I have a pair of bishops now. If you have a pair of bishops, you always want to open up the position, as then the bishops are going to be very strong and powerful. Now I'm ready for castles. If he wants to take, yeah, that is his right. But then I'm still ready for the move f4, opening up this guy, and not sure what is his plan, but I don't envy him. Very strong player, stronger than 99% of all of the chess players, yet this powerful opening is gonna destroy him, because his skin is still in the center. That's not how you're supposed to play. Like f4, I'm already threatening some nasty stuff, like bishop takes e6, pawn takes e5 with the tempo, rook e1 is coming. If your opponent does something weird like that, don't be afraid. Try to execute the plan that you have, and I have an entire playlist on this exact opening so that you can be prepared against everything, as well as the 10-day opening master, my signature program, where you can build an entire complete holistic opening repertoire, both for white and black, all inside of one program, and a month of live coaching with me included absolutely for free. The link is in the description. Don't miss this opportunity. So you know your plan, and then you try your best to execute it, taking into account what your opponent is doing. Don't be intimidated by him. So like, he's doing some weird stuff. Oh my God, my entire plan doesn't work, and now I'm stuck. No, try to think, is it really dangerous what he is doing to you? Maybe you can still execute your plan, but just keeping an eye on his threats. e4. Okay, he's trying to block my bishop, trying to block this bishop, and my task is, of course, to open up the position. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna play knight c3, which develops a new piece into the game. That's already cool. The knight is very active. In the center, it can jump to some squares like this or this. And that's like, it's good to develop a piece, it's great to develop a piece to a very active square, but the best case scenario, while doing all of that, you also create a threat for the opponent, and that's exactly what we do here. Honestly, I don't even see a way to defend this pawn. How on earth do you do that? You can try to create a counter threat, but I never ever believe in it. Your king is still in the center. You haven't. It's not like a big problem that you're gonna get checkmated, but it's a big problem in terms of finishing your development. You're stuck there. And also, once I take on a4, this bishop is going to be completely opened, and I'm gonna be able to give some checks as well, which is gonna distract his development once again. But otherwise, yeah, he goes for it. I didn't see any way for him to defend. Okay, so if I take, he wants to take on c2. I can take there. It's like two bishops on a completely open board. Absolutely the best case scenario. I still think that knight b4 is his best chance. Let's see if we have something better than just taking here. What about knight b5? How do you actually defend this guy? Yes, he can take there, but I take with the check. It's more dangerous. And even some checkmate ideas are possible there. Like, I don't know, knight b5 takes, I take here with the check, king e7, I play bishop d2, and if he takes my rook, I play bishop b4, checkmate. just like that in the center of the board, even without the queens. Sometimes it's possible. It's important like that I do it before he can develop his bishop, so that the king is gonna block this guy and that bishop blocks the rook, and the entire development is not happening, basically. That is a very interesting line. But yeah, of course I understand he's gonna have moves like rook c8 or something. I can actually just take his rook, he's gonna take my rook, then I'm gonna play bishop e3, threatening to grab his knight. Once he goes back, I play bishop c5 check, king e6, knight c7 check, maybe not a checkmate. Yeah, it must be a checkmate. Bishop h3 is a checkmate. So I really like this variation. Okay, that means knight x2 doesn't work. What else can he do after knight b5? I'm just trying to show you my entire thinking process so that you can use it in your own games. That is a powerful threat. If he just plays bishop d6, it's fantastic for me. I can just take it, play c3 or something. In fact, c3 is a very cool idea regardless of what he plays. Maybe what he wants to do is to play some knight to d5, and that would defend there. But first, this pawn is going to be hanging. Like in every case, knight b5, this knight to d5, I still can play bishop takes e4, knight takes and rook takes d5, threatening this and threatening this. So I think knight b5 is very powerful. It's creating so much headache for my opponent. Like rook c8 doesn't really help you. I can even just play knight takes a7 anyway. Or starting with c3 is probably the best. Because once I play c3, you cannot really go to c2. I'm gonna play rook b1, and how on earth your knight is gonna escape out of it? It's not, like it's completely imprisoned there. Maybe the problem, though, is that my knight is also going to be attacked, and it doesn't have, like, it has a very good square to d2, to d4 to go back, but then this knight will be able to exchange it. The main point is, after just 10 moves, our position is nearly winning, and all I'm thinking about is, like, what the best way to win. But the way it gives you that advantage, like that, is very powerful, and you can use it in every single game you play. I teach you in 10-day opening master absolutely everything you need to know depending on what your opponent is doing, but essentially it's like a few key systems that you need to understand, not even memorize. It's not like move by move theory, but rather the key ideas that you need to understand, and then you can execute it in every game that you play. Yes, I like what he has done, because at least he's not gonna block his own bishop. That's correct. Yet still, I believe he should be in trouble here. After c3, maybe he wants to play that. And then if I take, he's gonna take here. Even that is working for me, because in the end I'm gonna have that pin. Yeah, it feels like c3 is the best move. Just solving this problem first. Now knight c2 definitely doesn't work, because I can exchange this guy, and then this knight is not gonna escape on my watch. Otherwise, if you go here, yeah, I can win some material. Okay, he plays knight d3, so I actually can take it here, I think. He takes over there. I can even take on b7, threatening the rook, and if it goes back, I have bishop c6 check, and then I just pick up the bishop, the knight on c1. So I think he has to take. Maybe there is some tricky move like here, but I can give a check, that is already great. And then I can take here. And I'm still a pawn up in the end, while having a pair of bishops, which is really cool. And this knight, again, I'm not sure it's gonna escape. I can play bishop f3 and just win it. So I think that move works. Always start with the most active opportunities that are available to you. Checks, captures, threats. So I don't have any, well, I do have knight takes d6, but I wasn't sure I want to do it immediately, because every exchange you make, it kind of helps your opponent, especially if you're attacking. The less attacking pieces you have at your disposal, the less threats you can create. And now with this knight on b5, he still needs to calculate some lines, I don't know, rook d6, knight c7, something like that. Okay, he actually takes, maybe knight d2 is his hope, but it's not gonna help you much. I think you're still in trouble after bishop takes b7. But again, even rook c1, knight takes, and rook e1 is good enough, because I'm gonna play f3 in the end and just win the knight back. But I like bishop e7 more. It feels more active. I'm attacking here as well as ready to give a check, which is very annoying. Like this check is not gonna, this bishop on c6 is going to be a pain in your ass now. Yeah, exactly, bishop c6. If you go here, I have yet another check. If you go here, then this is a pin and you cannot play rook e8. Like this rook just does not get into the game. That is your main problem. I think after king e7, it's quite important not to take, but start with rook e1 check. Because if you just take him, he's gonna play rook d8 and then check king f8, and the rook is out. That is why it's so essential to start with the check. He played king f8 voluntarily, but that shuts down this rook completely. Maybe he wants to develop it this way, but it's very slow. And now I'm ready to take. Maybe he has some ideas like rook b6. I mean, I always have that, right? So let's take it. I even have knight to d4 back. At least what he has achieved now, he has opposite colors bishops. And that is giving some hope to make a draw. But I have 2 extra pawns. That's a huge advantage. So I hope there is no way he's gonna escape with the draw. As well as I'm just threatening to take his bishop, so those opposite colors bishops are not gonna stay there for long. Bishop to c5. I think the point is that if I take, he wants to play rook to c8. He cannot take me, of course. Rook d8 check would win the rook. But rook to c8 is also not threatening much. Just win this guy, but rook d8 is still coming. So I can take, and after rook c8, just play bishop a4 back. And if he takes, I have rook d8. I like this line. 2 pawns are great, but if you can get 3 extra pawns, that is even better. Why not? Now I'm ready for something like b4, knight d5, just exchanging all this stuff. He takes. Maybe he wants to create some counterplay, but that's never enough. Oh, wait, maybe it is. Because he has knight g4, threatening some checkmates. Wow. I don't believe it can work, but you should be careful. It's never too late to spoil your game. All right, I'm gonna be brave and go ahead with it. I have checked a few lines. So rook takes f2. I can even attack this guy. No, maybe that doesn't give me anything. So I wanted to just play king h1, and if knight g4, just go bishop g2. That would block the rook. Right now he's threatening like to win an entire rook. That is quite a lot. So I think king h1 is needed. And then if he doesn't play knight g4, I'm basically threatening to play knight d5. Once I change this knight, the game is over. I have too much extra material. So he has to play that. Then bishop g2. And then I think his idea is to go away with the rook somewhere, doesn't matter, to threaten knight f2 check and then some discover checks, for example, winning the rook. But then I have a move, and hopefully that would be enough for me to create some counter. No, what? h6? Ah, I get it. Hopefully I would have noticed that. After knight g4, not only I have bishop g2, but also rook takes h7, and of course nobody cares about the pawn, but I just defend that. That is interesting, but h6 is so slow. Now, like I said, I can just play knight d5, just exchange this potential attacker of my opponent. The more attackers you exchange, the simpler it gets for you to deal with all of these threats. And if you are rook up, just exchange everything that moves until it doesn't move anymore. And yeah, now the game is basically over. You just need to still be careful. It's never too late to blunder. But without the knights, like I don't see a single threat. The rook is still active, of course, but it's all about the threats. Let me play a4. I don't want to give you the pawn. Maybe this pawn is going to become a queen one day. King f5. Okay, because of the absence of attackers, he wants to use his king, but that's rather the way to get checkmated, not to give a checkmate. But I admire his wish to continue attacking. That deserves respect. Okay, I want to play rook e1 on a serious note that, first of all, takes some squares away. He actually is going for it. I want like to give him this opportunity to get to h3 and then give him a checkmate. So how do I do that? Probably just rook h7. because I'm threatened to take with a check, make use of this rook. If this pawn moves, then I can take this one, and if the king goes h3, then bishop d7. So it's not like I was hoping for this trap. I just made sure that I have defense against this idea, because otherwise it would literally be a checkmate. Like, you cannot stop it. But what if they don't play this nonsense with knight c6 and d6? What if they play something normal, like d5? Well, in this case, you go for knight f3, and you play the Colli checkerboard system. This is a very simple opening that is gonna change your life. So you play e3, and then you play bishop d3. Even if they play bishop f5, that shouldn't stop you. You attack the bishop, and now in most of the cases they're gonna take, in which case we have both pawn takes and queen takes. I like to take with the queen, but they play knight e4. That is something new to me. I don't think you're ready. They break the golden principle, one piece, one move, on move number 4, which is usually not a good sign. And I'm thinking, can we take advantage of it and play something like knight h4, attacking this guy? Maybe it's not needed. We can also play c4, trying to expand there and attack this b7 pawn, because that is the drawback of this guy on f5. But they probably can take it. And then we also need to spend one more tempo. The b7 pawn is still very weak. What we also can do is like just castle, go away with the knight, and then f3 would be a threat. If not to win a piece, then just to go forward and destroy him in the center. Let's go for it. I think it would be very instructive. So when your opponent just wastes time, you should take advantage of it and try to go forward and punish him for doing that. But it's not just like you should do the same, take one piece and try to attack with it. Instead, you bring as many of them as possible and then destroy him. Okay, knight e5 I think runs into f6, and I'm not that happy about it. So knight e1, a little bit more passive, but should work. Maybe queen e2 first, then knight e1, then f3, and then e4. Well, the drawback is that this d4 pawn is going to be hanging. So let's start first with something we play anyway, this bishop to b2. Bishop goes to d6. Yeah, so it's like he's trying to play London against us as black. We're gonna play bishop b2. This is the only thing that changes here. The bishop is on d3 instead of g2, right? Because if the pawn is on d5, the bishop is not going to be that effective. Otherwise, we try to execute the same plan, and this knight can come to e5. The key idea of the entire plan. Now that his knight is on d7, we are not afraid of f6 anymore, because we are going to just take and continue the plan. So I like the move knight e5. It helps us to continue with f3, but we don't need to go backwards, where the knight is going to be passive. It doesn't care. Okay, I'm gonna play f3. If he just plays knight f6, I feel like I have achieved my normal plan. That's exactly what you should do in this beautiful opening. But at the same time, he just wasted basically too tempted to play knight e4 and knight f6. Maybe I should have started with queen e2 though, so that I have this e4 opportunity afterwards. Okay, he takes. Can I win some material? Probably not. If I take this pawn, he's gonna take this bishop and threaten this bishop. So I should wait, but if I take back, then this bishop is hanging and this knight is hanging. What's the idea? Might have some compensation, but I feel like he's just losing material. Yes, he wants to take this pawn and then this pawn, but that's an extra piece regardless. Okay, bishop somewhere, probably just e2 to make sure everything is solid here, everything is protected in h1, and now we have an extra piece. As simple as that. This is how powerful this opening is. Don't be afraid of this bishop f5 move. They try to create problems for us, and they should, of course. Don't relax too early. It's never too late to spoil your game. But what we really want to do is just exchange the pieces, and especially the queens. If we can exchange the queens, there are no checkmating ideas anymore. So I'm gonna just play queen e1, and that's a tempo move. He wanted to play rook d8 and attack my queen, so I just go away. If he plays queen h6, trying to continue the idea, have bishop c1. And the point is to exchange both the bishops and the queens. Although he does have e3 there. Okay, queen to e7, that doesn't feel dangerous. So I have time to develop my pieces. I feel like I want to develop here so that the knight on c4 would be really cool. And with the tempo, of course. You typically never want to develop your knight to c3 if you play b3, bishop b2, at least before you play c4. If you play c4, then it's fine. But otherwise, it's gonna restrict your potential. After rook to d8, yes, knight c4, not only it's a move with the tempo, but it also controls this key square on d2. So he cannot go forward, he cannot create threats, he has to go backwards. And what I also want to do here is to play a4, so that he cannot kick my knight away. I'm just not sure whether I should do it now or play rook to d1 anyway. b5, I have knight a5, and then I'm threatening here, and I'm threatening to win the pawn. Yeah, so I feel that b5 is not that dangerous, then I rather develop a new piece. He goes for it, okay. I'm gonna play knight a5, because I'm threatening some nasty stuff here. And the pawn is just hanging, like, why not? If I can just take it, I'm gonna do that. I'm a simple man of simple desires. So basically, once you have this huge material advantage, all you need to do is stabilize the position so that your opponent doesn't have a lot of counterplay activity. And so that's what I'm trying to achieve. I think he realizes now that b5 was not such a great idea. Now he has so many holes in his position. b7, c6, b5. It's all because the bishop is on this side of the board, so it cannot help. If it would be on d7, that would solve all of the problems. Maybe he was counting on bishop to b4, forking my stuff here, but even there I can play knight c6 because that would come with a check. That move also doesn't help, because I can take and play knight b7 with the fork. It's not like I'm winning material, but I exchange this very powerful bishop. You remember, exchanging stuff helps me a lot. And I exchange the rooks in the process. Let me just think if I have anything better than that. Just knight b7 I like less, because takes, bishop somewhere, and then my knight on b7 is kind of stuck. So I want to take. Here I even have a choice. I can just take on b5. Grab a pawn, but I don't know. I would be happy to exchange that guy, I think. Although that's a healthy pawn I can take. Then I can play queen e2, rook d1. Doesn't even have any... he has d5 square, but d5 is not such a great one because I can easily attack it again somehow. I think it's more reasonable to play knight b7. It's not about pawns, I already have a lot of extra material, but it's about making sure that your opponent cannot create dangerous threats for you. And from this perspective, this bishop plays quite an important role. So it should be more instructive to do this. And now queen c3 I like a lot. If you exchange the queens, that helps. Otherwise, I improve, I bring new piece into the game. He cannot really play queen d5 because rook d1, I mean, I would be happy to make that move. Otherwise, he needs to go somewhere back, like maybe here, but then rook d1, I should be a little bit careful. He has queen f2 attacking here. But I have ideas like queen d4. Okay, he actually goes for it, but what about rook d1? I just developed my rook for free with the tempo. It's absolutely great. And now I can continue. bishop a3. If you don't know what to do, develop your pieces. If all of the pieces are developed, ask yourself, what is my worst placed piece that is doing nothing or almost nothing? That was this bishop blocked by the pawn, and now I do it with the tempo, improve my bishop's position, and it controls this very important diagonal. He clearly wants to play c5, although that is not even possible. Queen takes, cannot take back because of this checkmate. But regardless, I can play queen to c5 and ready to take here. I like this move. If he plays that, I can just play bishop f3, probably controlling this important diagonal, or queen b5. At some point, some checkmating attacks ideas would be possible. For example, play rook d7. Yes, it's a little bit scary, like I don't have the luft for my king myself, but he's not in the position to create any threats for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and play that. Queen e7 is not messing around. I think it's just double checkmate threat, unstoppable. So he has to do something right now, something like bishop g6 or h6. Yeah, basically kind of the same. Although here I have an additional idea of bishop h5. I don't know. He can play g6, queen e7. Wait, he cannot play that because I'm gonna take it. I have a bishop here. So how do you actually defend after bishop h5? Maybe you forget about this pawn and play e3, but then I can come back and play bishop f3 or just queen takes e3. I like bishop h5. Because after g6, I think it's already a checkmate. Queen e7 and takes. And this bishop, like the entire game, it does absolutely nothing. It's like this giant pawn. So this is exactly the result you can expect after going through my 10-day opening mastery, where you can build a holistic opening repertoire both for white and black, and also profoundly improve your chess understanding, become such a stronger chess player, because I go much deeper into the middle game plans and ideas, into overall thinking process in chess, and so much more. In addition, you get a full month of live coaching with me, where I'm going to analyze your games and tell you exactly what to do to improve so much faster and to become so much better at this amazing game we all love. The link is in the description, don't miss it. In this playlist, you can learn so much more about this amazing opening and how you can defeat everyone thanks to it.